Welcome everyone to Power Hour. My name is Audrey Vernick. I'm the Director of Patient and Family Advocacy for the Pediatric Epilepsy Surgery Alliance. I'm really thrilled to have you with us tonight or watching the recording later. This is always the time of year when everyone gets the gray hairs and the crow's feet. Well, I guess we do all the time, but especially this time of year when we get a little more anxious about things to come and what did we not do right last year and what did we do right what are we going to do better this year? And so I wanted to take a chance first to dive into a few of our newest tools, which I'm very excited about, that will hopefully help you on this journey. And then I'm going to stop the recording and we're going to have a Q&A with all your questions, and hopefully I'll be able to answer some of them. So if you haven't already seen, we've been promoting it on our social media. Here is our new course. It's called Navigating the IEP Process, and we're very excited about this. You will go to a page that will look like this, and you're going to enroll in the course, and then you are going to be in the course. And basically what this course is everything that we've laid out in the IEP process on our website and on our YouTube channel, but it's all in one place. And we have numerous resource documents and links and whatnot throughout the course. I think it's, we've had a few of our volunteer education working group volunteers review it. And one of the parents said, this is something I wish I had when my kid was in kindergarten. And of course, now her child's about to graduate from high school, but that's what we want. We want this to be a tool that you take with you from day one, and then hopefully can still use even if your child is even near the end of high school. So just to give you a little orientation to the course, first we just introduce ourselves, and you'll see on every page, you can just scroll down and there's going to be more information. And then you can go to the next lesson. The one thing I do not like about this platform that we use is you can't search within the course. So you have to kind of know what you're looking for or just follow it all the way through. Hopefully it's not too long, and you can go through it step by step and really get the benefit of the whole thing. But if you're looking for something in particular, it is organized by the steps in the IEP process, which we have talked about before. So at first, we just introduce what is IDEA, how do you need to prepare to be ready to do this? Because honestly, having a child with an IEP or a 504, or even if they don't have those things and they need special services and supports in school, you need to know a lot of things, right? You need to understand their medical condition history, their, epilepsy surgery. You need to understand, you have to kind of learn how teaching takes place, how assessment takes place. And then if you're working with the school district, you also need to start learning some federal laws like IDEA and 504 and that sort of thing. So it can be quite daunting. So our goal is to put it all in one place for you here and make it a little bit easier. And then we have even a cool little infographic that has the steps in the process that you can download. And then as you see here on the left side, it's just every step in the process laid out with information within each. I'm not going to go through all of it, but step 1's the referral. Step 2 is evaluation. The evaluation section you will see is the longest section because evaluation is, sing it with me, the most important part of the IEP process, right? If you don't have a good assessment, don't talk to me. And I'm seeing so many posts right now where parents are like, well, I went to the IEP meeting and they gave me the draft and there weren't even any service minutes in it. What do I do? And my response to every query on Facebook right now is, what do the assessments say? What do the assessments say? What do the assessments say? What does the assessment say? Was the assessor there to say what the assessments say? So you get the point. Most important part of the process. And then the next step after your child is assessed is identification. So that's where you determine as a team which category of disability they're going to be found eligible under. In some states, it matters. In some states, it doesn't. We explain that in the course. You can watch that. Then you're going to build the IEP. This is the second biggest section because it does take a lot to build the IEP. It's not a one-time thing. And I think one of the things I love about the way this course looks is that I think it gives you a sense of, this is not a one and done thing. This is not something you're doing in an hour. This is not something you're doing in 5 meetings over the first 4 months of school. It's taken me 20 years, well, maybe 16 years to learn what I know now that I'm sharing with you. Not that you have to know everything, but I don't want you to walk into a meeting thinking, why don't I understand this? Why doesn't this all make sense to me? I'm not doing it right. It is a process. You have to learn the steps in the process, and then you're going to be able to do it. So this covers all of that. And then we've got placement. Placement is another thing I hear often. First thing I want to talk about, I show up at the IEP meeting, I want to talk about where my child is going to school, what the appropriate placement is. This is step 5. So if you came to me with that question, I would say, what do the assessments say? Because the assessments determine the placement. The assessment tells us what the child's strengths and weaknesses are, what kind of academic and educational supports they need, what kind of behavior supports they need, any particular setting because they're blind or they have epilepsy or any other things. So we can't talk about placement until we've done the assessments and determined the contents of the IEP. Then we can talk about placement. In some states, the eligibility category is a factor in placement as well. We're going to review and revise the IEP every year. So there's a couple sections there, and then reevaluating at least once every 3 years, but I would argue every year. And then we have a couple sections on parent advocacy. And then we have a few more sections on school and learning after epilepsy surgery. And then lastly, if you are one of the people like me where you want every handout from the entire course in one place, you can go to this section 12.1 and click here and download every single handout from the whole course, which I also just love because I'm like that. So that's the new course. As you can tell, I'm very excited about it. I love your feedback. So as you're using it, if you're get stuck somewhere, there's an error, something doesn't work, you wish I explained something more or less, please let us know. Monica and I both worked hard on this course, and we want to make sure you're getting something out of it. So if you're struggling with it at all, please let us know. A couple of other resources that I wanted to make sure you know about, and they're linked in the course, so you can find them all there. And I'm also going to share the links tonight. We have the assessment spreadsheet. So another thing I often hear is, okay, so I'm always like, it's all about assessments. What about the assessments? What do they say? So if you look down at the bottom here, there are tabs and so anything you're thinking about, I kind of put them in order of like where we usually start. So intelligence and achievement are kind of the basis of a lot of the foundational assessments that are done in schools. But then it goes through writing and spelling, assistive technology, and you can scroll to the right. You can see there are tons of tabs here. So your child may not need a motor or adapted PE assessment or a sensory integration and processing assessment or whatnot, but you want to know that they're all here and you can find them if you're looking for them. And then if there's a little orange triangle on the right, it means there's something more. If you hover over it, then little comments will pop up so that you can read. Usually it's more detail about the particular assessment. And then we all want to know what's the age range? What does this test measure? So across the top here, you can find those things. And it's different for each area because some areas have tons and tons of assessments and some have fewer assessments. So that is another really important tool. And then we have a goal bank. So then you've done your amazing assessments. You've sat down as a team and said, based on these assessments, this is what we think we need to be working on for this school year. These are kind of some of the service objectives and whatnot. Now we have to write goals, right? So just like the other one, the tabs are all at the bottom, which is a little counterintuitive for a lot of us. But look down at the bottom and let's say my child's an AAC user and I'm being told there's no goal that we could possibly put in the IEP for an AAC user. And so we're going to go in here and we're going to see that there are, I don't know how many I have, about 30. These goals are tailored for AAC users. So if your child is not an AAC user, it doesn't mean you can't use this goal. You just might take out, given the access to his pre-programmed talker with symbols for meal choices, student will either verbally or honest talker select a meal at least once per day with 80% accuracy, blah, blah, blah. And you can see how the goal is written, and it's kind of a formula for how we want goals written, which is always given what, in what situation, what will they do, how often, with what accuracy, and then how will it be measured. So we talk about that in our course, how do you break that down and how do you determine what needs to be in a goal. But you can see here, sorry, it's a little slow because I'm on Zoom, just different areas here and many, many, many different examples of goals for each area of need. So I'm going to leave it to you guys to dive in here and spend a little time. Maybe you're going to need a glass of wine or a bowl of ice cream or a hot bath after doing some of this because it's quite a lot, but hopefully you will get something out of that. And then lastly, this is our newest tool, which I'm super excited about. Actually, the course is the newest tool, but this is like our second newest tool, and we haven't really done anything on it yet. And this is it was supposed to be an accommodations spreadsheet, and it turned into kind of an everything spreadsheet. It links all the things we just talked about. So everything I just mentioned is linked here. You can just click on it. It'll take you right to it. But this is what's in this guide. So we've got assessments, special education, related services, supplementary aids and services, program modifications, and resources for school teams. This is directly from IDEA, from the language of the law, that says these are the things that need to be considered for every child while we're developing an IEP. So let me just give you an example. Let's go into behavior. So go back to a little smaller. I think you guys can read this. So the first part is a description of what is this section about? What is behavior? How does it impact? How are children with epilepsy impacted, et cetera? Then we're going to have the yellow is the delineator of the next section. That's telling now we're looking at what assessments are needed if we're talking about behavior. So we might be looking at an autism assessment, an educationally related health assessment, a functional behavior assessment. So you have to start here, because when I started doing this guide, I was like, we can't just jump into accommodations because it all starts with assessments, because that's what I said, right? So here they are. And this is not as detailed in terms of what individual measures there are. That's where you're going to find that on the assessment spreadsheet. So if your team says there's no assessment, there's no measure to use for AAC user learning social skills, it's probably on the assessment spreadsheet. So take a look. And if it's not, you can let me know and I will add it. And then now we're looking at what is the specially designed instruction? That's special education. So what is the special education or specially designed instruction the child needs for behavioral, social, or mental health issues? So this is where you're going to the team and you're saying, okay, we're having this problem and we're not figuring it out with the way we're doing it now. Can we do applied behavior analysis in the school setting? Can we offer the circles curriculum because my child doesn't understand stranger danger? Is there an executive function training that could be offered in the school setting? So you could go through this. Mindfulness training is used in a lot of schools, right? So you're going to go through this and look and see what specially designed instruction you might ask the school to consider. Then related services. So what related services would be needed for a child who has behavioral, social, and mental health needs? So maybe they need assistive technology. Hint, it's in every section because assistive technology supports everything. Do they need behavior support? What kind of behavior support, right? Look at all the different people who could support behavior, counseling, OT, et cetera. So these are the related services that are specific to that child's behavioral, social, and mental health needs. Next, we have the supplementary aids and services, which is what this guide was supposed to be. These are the accommodations. So what is the accommodation we're going to provide for the child who has this area of need? And there's a lot of them. So in some sections, there are fewer, but there are a lot. And then there's some environmental adaptations, and then some information about how do we get the team to collaborate and consult and have that time, because a lot of times our kids need way more than just the IEP meeting and then, showing up at school. And then there's also a section on what are the program modifications and supports for school personnel. So one thing we offer is free schools training for school teams. And oftentimes parents are like, they won't do it. It's in the law. This is under IDEA. There is a section that program modifications and supports for school personnel. You can insist that the staff is trained in all of the child's impairments and that they understand the complexity of the child's disability. And then you can look down here at all the different ways in which you'd be making modifications. This is for what the staff needs to do differently, right? So do they need to have more training? Do they need to have a BCBA come in and train all of the staff that works with the child because the child has behavior needs, et cetera? And then at the bottom of each section are resources. On the top in the green are our resources, and then many, many other resources in each section. I kind of wrote this with school teams in mind because school teams are often the ones that are asking me for this information. So it should be very approachable for the IEP team. It's a lot of information, and I apologize. It's really hard to do any of this as a 10-item checklist because our kids are phenomenally complex. But if you were to say to, let's say, the school nurse, hey, there's a section on health and emergency planning in this spreadsheet. Why don't you take a look at it before we meet for the IEP? Because I want to make sure that we're updating the seizure action plan, the emergency health plan, and the individualized health plan when we meet. And then the nurse can see, well, let's see what assessments need to be done. What is the specially designed instruction this child might need? What related services should be provided, et cetera.